Hello everyone and welcome to Kerbal Space Program. This is a game I've been wanting to do a video on for a while. And normally I do a sort of post-commentary after everything's done. What I'm going to do this time is a little bit different. I'm going to actually comment live. And there may be some points where I, speed it up, where I record some dialogue afterward, but we'll see. So let's get into it. Kerbal Space Program is well, I guess you could call it a sort of space simulation game. You know what? Let's just get started and we'll see what it is in just a moment. So, let's start new. Let's do sandbox. And actually, I'm gonna... Yeah, you know what? Sure. Let's make it a little harder. Let's start. And we'll get back to... We'll probably do... If this is popular, I'll do a career mode. Where I go from the beginning to the end. But... basically... when you enter the game, this is what you get. You have your runway, launch pad, observatory, R&D lab, admin building, astronaut complex, then your space plane, hangar, and vehicle assembly building. And these two are basically where you're going to build stuff. In this case, let's build a rocket first. Okay, don't need to know this because I've done this before. I have done this many times before. So, let's start. Let's start with one of these. And build a big rocket. And that's basically what you do in this game. You build stuff like rockets, space planes, regular planes, go-karts. Okay, not go-karts. But you can build just about anything in this game, so go-karts are not a new possibility. But let's start with... don't need that just yet. Let's add a parachute, so this thing will actually survive. Let's start with a rocket. Let's build a rocket. Oh, that's science. Hold on. There's some new stuff in the update. This was an early access game. There we go. This was an early access game, so... it's seen a lot of updates. Let's add... sure, why not? Let's strap a couple solar panels on there. We'll use symmetry mode so we can put two of them on at once. We have some on. Okay, put on two of those. Now, if we want to actually get back into... ooh, what's it under? I think it's under aerodynamics. Yep. Up, too big. Not that one. These are 2.5 meter wide parts. The game's developed by a Mexican developer. So it uses the metric system. Being American, they don't need no metric system. But anyway, so that's what we'll get started with. We'll start with our little command pod. So we can actually have people in here driving the rocket, steering the rocket, flying. That's the right word, flying the rocket. We're going to add a parachute so they don't die when they hit the ground. And we're going to add some solar panels so we'll actually get power in space. Won't run out of power and die in space. We'll add a heat shield once again so we don't die on re-entry. And then that is where that's the basics. Most of them. They'll probably I'm probably forgetting something. So, but that's what we need for now. Now comes the fun part. We get to build a rocket. Let's start with some RCS fuel. That's basically gonna let us move around in space. In terms of like little maneuvers, not shooting a rocket. But Yeah, RCS fuel powers these little mini thrusters. Put some of those on too, because they're really useful for moving around in space, because where you would normally use fins, well, fins aren't super effective without an atmosphere. Right, so let's put those on. And we'll put a couple more once we have the actual fuel tanks on. This is just going to help us. I'm actually going to put this above this. This is a, what do they call it? A reaction wheel. Basically, reaction wheels allow you to move around, or I shouldn't say move around, but move your rocket around it. I keep saying move around. They allow you to adjust your rocket's orientation with electricity, which we will have in plenty thanks to our solar panels, rather than having to use fuel, because fuel is kind of a finite resource in space, and electricity less so. Ah, I've just remembered something we nearly forgot. Batteries. We have to put that electricity somewhere. So let's see. This is Z100. Where's the big ones? Aha! There we go. So let's put 2 of these on. Yeah, okay. So now let's add some fuel tanks. Whenever you see RCS, that means that's going to be for these little boosters. So, but let's move down. Oop, too big. Yep, not that one. Okay. Let's look here. How about our big trusty Jumbo 64? Big orange one. Okay, that's pretty good. Yeah. Let's just use that. And in order to get to... let's use another one. Because we want lots of fuel. Which, of course, is going to make our rocket heavier, but it will also allow us to burn our engines longer. So, I'll kind of be using some technical lingo. Burn basically means fire your rockets. There'll be a couple of other terms once we get into orbit. Apoapsis and periapsis. Basically, your apoapsis is the farthest point from the object you're orbiting, and the periapsis is the closest point. But that's not too important now, so let's just keep going. So let's build a rocket. We'll figure the rest out later. We're gonna need an engine. A big engine. That's too small. We need a bigger engine. Still too small. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. Actually, out of curiosity. Yeah, that's the big parts. Well, nah, we're not gonna use that just because we're gonna keep everything the same size. So now, what we're gonna need is, because this isn't enough fuel to get us to orbit. This is enough. Once we get way up into the atmosphere, we can probably use this to get us to orbit. But we do need to get into the atmosphere. So let's add... Let's add some boosters. Lots of boosters. Now once we finish firing these boosters, since these are going to fire and get us up into the air, we don't want to hold them around because they're going to be heavy and they're going to weigh us down. So what we're going to do is get a couple of decouplers, not those ones, let's use these ones. Actually, lots of decouplers. 6 of them in this case, to be precise. Let's see if I can line this up correctly. It's not, how about that? Yeah, there we go. This seems a little high, but that It's actually kind of good. Having them forward of the center of mass. Let's see. Center of thrust. Center of mass. See. Okay. I wonder if I take that one off. So that's going to be the center of thrust. That's going to be the center of mass. That's going to pull us straight up. Which is good. Because we want stability. But we want to get rid of these when we're done. So we're going to adjust our staging. It's called, actually, no, we're not. We need something, because this is going to fall over on the launch pad. So let's use these. No, let's not. Not yet. I forget. There are so many little things that go into building a rocket. Let's use some space tape, aka struts. And this is basically just going to hold these thrusters, these boosters, apart. Because otherwise, when they're under thrust, there's going to be some flex, and they might hit the tank, they might do something else bad. So we're just going to hold them together with a bit of that. Then we're going to add our thingies, our clamps, launch clamps. So then we'll adjust our staging. The bottom thing is going to happen first, and the top thing last. So what's going to happen is we're going to get out on the launch pad, and we are going to hit the space bar. And the space bar is going to be our staging button, and we're going to hit that every time we want something to happen. But the important thing to note is, once we hit the space bar, whatever was in the last stage, we're not going to have any control of it anymore. It's going to be exactly as though we left it. So what's going to happen here is this. We're going to start by firing our boosters. Then we're going to release our launch pad, our launch clamps. Then I'm going to move these into their own stage. I like to have a lot of stuff in its own stage. So we're gonna fire our boosters, release our launch clamps. Then we're gonna fire the main engine. No, we're not going to. Then we're going to release the boosters, so they are no longer on our rocket. Fire the main engine. Then, hopefully once we're in orbit, or rather, once we're in orbit, we've finished all of our stuff and we're on re-entry, we're going to release that entire thing. This is they call it an inline decoupler. Everything above this is going to separate, and so that's just going to be our command module and our heat shield and all that stuff. So then we're going to separate that, and then once we get deep into the atmosphere, we'll open our parachute. So it's easier. It gets a little simpler when it's in practice. So we'll do a launch, and then you'll start to see where all the stuff's how all this stuff works. But before we do that, we do need a couple more parts. We're going to use these to move around in space, so it's kind of important that we have a lot of them. They're going to produce the thrust we need to navigate, or orientate, I should say, our craft in space. I'm using the symmetry mode to put 4 of these in a row. And that's slightly off, but I don't care. And then let's add a couple of fins for while we're in the atmosphere. Let's see if I can do that. Is that that is a bad angle, isn't it? Let me move. Ah, dang it. No, that's not nice. Okay, well, we'll do a couple. Let's just do a set on here. Okay. There we go. That should fire right. Alright, so let's launch this sucker and see if it works. Because I have never built this before, so it may fail horribly, we may not even get off the launch pad. Or we may get all the way into space and have fuel left over. Impossible to tell until we test it out. You can see our brave pilots, the Kerbals. It's just called Kerbal Space Program after all. This is the planet Kerbin. It's a lot like Earth, but smaller, which makes it easier to take off from. And its inhabitants are, green, minion-like, Kerbals. So let's take a look here at what they see. Hey there, buddy. Bill or Bob or whoever you are, and I think there's one guy below us. Okay. Alright. Okay, now, back. There we go. I forget the controls sometimes. Alright, so we're going to adjust our throttle. We're going to throttle all the way up. Not that it matters. Boosters fire continuously. You cannot control them. Full thrust is all they do. So we're going to do that, and let's launch. Release docking clamps, and up we go. Not very fast. I was rather hoping we'd be going a little faster. But okay, slow and steady wins the race. Just not the space race. So this may be bad. What's going to happen is we're going to use up all our fuel. We're not going to be able to get into orbit. But we're going to keep going. That may not happen. We may be able to get into orbit. These may have enough fuel for that. So we're going about 300 meters per second. We're about 5 kilometers up. And we're just about out of solid fuel. Moving pretty fast. You can see the atmospheric effects. So, okay. We've just left the heavy atmosphere, so we're going to tip over. Back. Not quite far enough. We're going to activate our RCS thrusters. You can see they're working to stabilize us. And this SAS, the Sickness Avoidance System. Oh, please don't damage my fins. No. Oh, that's bad. Oh, come on. I should have dropped those before I... Okay, I should drop those before I accelerate. Alright, we fire the main engines. The Sickness Avoidance System, or SAS, basically keeps you locked on wherever you're pointing, to the best of its ability. It helps if you enable your RCS, I think it's radial control system, or something, about 20 kilometers up, which is going to help it control. You can see the RCS thrusters here, and those are going to help adjust the direction you're traveling. So we're going to keep going. Now we're going to check our orbital map. So you can see here, we have an apoapsis. That is as high as we're going to get before we start falling back. So we want to raise that out of the atmosphere, naturally. And on Kerbin, that's going to be around 70 kilometers. So we're just going to wait until it gets to 70 kilometers, and then we'll cut our engines, hopefully with enough fuel left. Actually, I'm going to go about 80. I prefer to go to a bit higher orbit, so we'll get to 80. Okay, we're going to cut our engines. So now we're still in the atmosphere, so friction is still affecting us, but pretty soon... Did I not? Oh, I'm hitting the wrong button. There we go. That's why I'm not moving. So we're going to move over here, so we can angle this way. Point at the horizon. So you can see we're getting pretty high. There's our launch center way back there. Over 75 kilometers away. Then what we're going to do is we're going to use what are called maneuver nodes. We're going to add a maneuver node, and basically at this point, we're going to drag this. This is the equivalent of us burning forward. And we're going to adjust that until we're in a reasonably circular orbit. That's not getting any better. Let's do that. Let's see if that'll work. I think we'll have just enough fuel, and then it'll give us estimates right here and some instructions. And so what we're going to do is, this blue is our target indicator. So we're going to point at the target indicator. And we have to burn for 55 seconds. So we're going to start right now. And I'm an idiot. Yeah, we're definitely, well, yeah, we're going back into the atmosphere. That's one problem. All I can say is it's not just me. It happens when you accidentally hit the staging button instead of accelerating, which is what I meant to do. I meant to hit the other key to accelerate full throttle. So, yeah, well, we don't have any actual fuel on this. And as you can see, we cancel that. We are now falling. So, yeah, there's no way we're going to be able to make orbit this time. Okay. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to conduct, we're going to do a quick load. We'll close these. You can see our electric charge. We use a bit every time we maneuver using the, SAS. But anyway, yep, we are now out of orbit. We've deorbited. Okay, well, I'm gonna get us back to where we were. That's totally my fault. I'm gonna quick load, get us back to where we were, and to the power of jump cuts. Well, yeah, I'll be back in just a moment.